Bobby White, and this is another episode of Never Trust a Skinny Cook. Okay, so this is episode 2, season 1, and I had promised that I was going to have a dinner party and do a lobster Napoleon. Well, that has changed. Caden is headed to California for a visit with his Nana and Papa. So I wanted to do an episode before he left. So I'm going to do my Amish cheeseburger soup. So, let's get to it. I want to end this in. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to first brown a pound of hamburger. I use the lower fat hamburger. You can use, if you use a lower fat hamburger, you don't have to drain the grease because the potatoes and everything will soak it up. So you brown the hamburger. Okay, so it's mostly browned. And I have already cut up some things. First I'm going to add a cup, I'm using green onion, a cup of green onion. So a cup of green onion. I'm going to go ahead and add a half a stick of butter. 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of pepper, 1 teaspoon of sugar. And I am going to melt the butter in there. 1 cup of diced celery. And saute that together. Okay, so after that is done, now I've got 4 tablespoons of butter. And I'm going to add the 4 tablespoons of 4 tablespoons of flour. Because I want it to thicken up a little bit. So before I add the potatoes and the carrots, I'm going to go ahead and add the flour and kind of do a roux, but with everything else in it. So you add the flour and it kind of thickens it up. And then I'm going to add 2 cups of carrots, diced. I cubed up 6 to 8 medium-sized red potatoes, and you want to kind of stir that in. I'm going to turn down the heat a little bit. Stir this in. And now I'm going to add 5 cups of water to start. And I'm going to stir this up. Let it get a little warm. So a lot of people use chicken stock. I do not. I use this Better Than Bouillon chicken paste. It just has a lot more flavor to it. That's Patty, my African Grey. He's going to be a commentator. So I use the Better Than Bouillon chicken paste. Way better, I think, than chicken stock. And I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons. And that is all of the ingredients for this soup. It is an Amish soup the Amish used hamburger. They also used venison. Actually, that's not all the ingredients. I spoke, but this is all the ingredients for now. We will do the cheese, but it is the last thing you want to put in. And it's after the vegetables have kind of tendered. And I added 5 cups of water, and I'm actually going to add 2 more cups of water. So that would be a total of 7 cups for this size pan and this amount of ingredients. At the end, I am going to give you the recipe for a bigger pot. It's just my husband and I, so I scaled down the recipe. The recipe I originally got was for restaurant, and so I had to kind of scale it down for my family, and then I even had to scale it down more so for me and my husband. So I'm going to bring this to a boil and then simmer it for a little bit before I add the cheese. And so we will be back when it's time to add the cheese. So now I have had it on a slow boil, kind of simmer boil till the potatoes and carrots get tender. And now I'm going to add 10 to 12 ounces of cubed up Velveeta cheese. The only reason I don't add it the whole time is because the cheese tends to stick to the bottom if you do it the whole time, so you have to stir it so much more. So stir that in, and you simmer it until the cheese melts, stirring frequently. So we will be back when it's all melted and ready to eat. Okay, so all the cheese is completely melted. This is what it looks like when it's finished, and I will get us a bowl and go over the recipe with you. Okay. So how I serve it, I just put a little bit of grated cheddar cheese on it. You can add chives, green onions. Some people add sour cream. It is up to you, but this is your bowl of Amish cheeseburger soup. So I normally make homemade bread with this. And I am going to do that in a different episode. This time I just did Rhodes Rolls. I don't know if anyone's ever eaten Rhodes Rolls. They're frozen. They taste the most like homemade. This soup just needs either homemade bread or Rhodes Rolls. So follow the directions. Rhodes Rolls you find in the frozen section. So now I'm going to go over the recipe. Like I said, the original recipe was for a restaurant amount. So I cut mine back twice. Once for when I did it with my family, and then once just for Rich and I. So this is a regular size pot. I do have a soup pot that when I'm going to feed a bunch of people, I basically just double this recipe. So here's what I used. I used a pound of hamburger. And I did that. That goes in the pan first, and you brown it. I added a cup of onion. I used green onion. You can use whatever onion you prefer. So to the hamburger, I added the onion and a cup of celery. And a half a stick of butter. I browned it all. And then I added my 4 tablespoons of flour. That's to give it some thickness. Then I browned that, kind of so that it's kind of mushy and a roux, basically, with the burger. Then I added 2 cups of carrots and 6 to 8 red potatoes, diced. Some people like more potatoes, some people like less. It's up to you. Then I added that, and then all together I added 7 cups of water and 2 tablespoons of my chicken paste. It's called Better Than Bouillon. You can get it at Walmart and Costco. It, to me, is just more flavorful than the boxes of chicken stock. I added 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of pepper, and 1 teaspoon of sugar. This, I used black pepper in this one. I often use white pepper. If you like your food a little bit more of a peppery flavor, white pepper has more of a peppery flavor. I sometimes add it to my soups, but this time, since I was doing it on air, I just used black pepper. But white pepper is a really good idea for this soup. Then I simmered it like a slow boil, that mixture, until the potatoes and the carrots were tender. It took about 20-25 minutes. Then I added 10 to 12 ounces of Velveeta cheese cubed up, and basically stir it until it melts. You don't want the heat too high, but you don't want it too low. I would say on medium high heat. And then it's ready to serve. So we are going to eat, and my brother Will is here along with my husband. They got home from a Mariners game today. And, well, you can come get your soup.
What do we have here? Oh, yes.
There's butter if you want it for your rolls over there.
No, I don't.
See you next episode on Never Trust a Skinny Cook.